today I have Stacy Edgar with me. Stacy is a co-founder of Venture, an AI and digital health startup that works with employees to introduce a consumer-centric model of health insurance. Why don't you give us a little insight into the role organizations play in healthcare in the US?
Yeah, love that question. It's so overlooked, but basically, for the last 80 years, most of half of America gets their insurance from an employer. And that means that the employer is in charge of buying the health insurance plan, picking out what it looks like, paying for it, at least in part, and really legally also is a fiduciary for their employees. They're legally in charge of their employees' health. And so that covers over 150 million Americans. And it's such an important detail because it affects so much in the way healthcare is delivered and also the way healthcare is priced as well. I do meet employers who, one, if you can believe this, actually said to me, I'm going to provide health insurance because I'm legally required to. But the reality is, if my employees need care, they could just go to the emergency room and then not pay their bill. And if they need care again, they just go to a different emergency room. And I almost fell out of my chair when I heard this, but it's not the only time I've heard that perspective of, well, I'm doing this because I have to, but I'm going to do the absolute bare minimum. And also thinking about, what I knew about those employees, because we were quoting them for health benefits, that they were making near minimum wage. And I just got to thinking about the employees of like, oh man, a lot of really profound economic pathways really depend on the philosophy of your employer. And like whether or not, I think, for UT, business they're in makes taking care of people even more heightened. But if you're in a business where, maybe recruitment isn't such a pressure, or, you're like,
You're hiring minimum wage employees. You can think of them as fairly disposable, and many organizations do. Yeah. But then, all of that costs money.
100%.
If you're going to treat them that way, you're going to have high turnover. And even if they're flipping burgers, there's still training that has to happen. And that means double people doing the same job, or just not doing the job well with fewer people. So, this is pretty well documented. Like you retain your employees, you're getting a financial benefit. And if you are treating them like they're disposable, you're not keeping them. But I know many people are very short-sighted. Many leadership teams are only thinking about their term before they move on to the next.
Or maybe they don't have a choice. Like I think about what's going on with tariffs this year, or with all the different fluctuations in the economy, and that's a hard decision. So it's easy to place judgment on it. And of course, in the story I just told, I totally did. But I also, want to recognize not all of us can afford to be the employers we would like to be. And sometimes you have to make a decision between the health of the bottom line and the health of but also that can mean compromising the health of the workforce. And I think that's also where, like the space I play in every day is how might we change that? How might we make that a better win-win for employers and employees alike? And there's answers there that can and should be explored.
Yeah, we've seen this with companies for a long time that do that because the idea that your workforce is minimum wage and therefore low skilled and therefore easily replaceable opens up the gateway to do things like, well, I'm going to do it to the letter of the law, but not anything more than that. And they can take advantage of ER rooms and things like that. But once you get people who are going to be higher skilled and, presumably harder to replace because of that skill, then some of that works itself out. I would think that you're not, like, they're not going to tolerate not paying an ER bill.
That's correct. Yeah. And actually, we had a case recently where New employee actually told me about a time they had to turn down what they thought was a dream job in the past because the health benefits just weren't up to snuff, and they had a family member in need, and that meant giving up a dream job. And so you're right, it does sort itself out. And I would say, like, even so it's so interesting. There's a stat that one of our partner organizations, Morgan Health, did this research earlier this year. And 1 out of 3 small businesses are giving up their health benefit plan because of cost. And it's actually a really painful decision because most of them socially would like to still provide benefits. There's a lot of pride in taking care of your workers, taking care of your own. And they also know that's a competitive disadvantage if they don't, because there's just an expectation in market.
It's part of your benefits. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
But like we talked about earlier, there are so many players and each piece has its own breaks. But it does seem really weird that the moment that you get sick and it might be difficult for you to keep a job is the same moment that you absolutely need your job in order to have your insurance. Like, that doesn't seem like a very, great plan. But I understand. I understand that that's, we all evolve over time, including organizations and the standards that they have. And so this is where we're at. And you can't just be the individual or the individual company that unwinds that. There has to be other forces in act.
Well, that's actually, there's in what we do. So when you get cash from your employer, you go out and you buy an individual plan that effectively is Obamacare, for lack of a better term. And the ACA or Obamacare has been the market you go to when you don't have employer-sponsored coverage or you don't have another option. And one of the things I'm super passionate about is the more employers adopt this model and join that risk pool in that market, the better it will get. It will transition from being this market of last resort to a more diverse, stronger market that then makes portability possible. It makes our dependence on job-based health insurance less.
That's a very good point. Yeah. Because like right now, I mean, initially, correct me if I'm wrong, but like the people who were forced into it, maybe didn't have a job, whatever, or underpaid, underemployed, I guess is what we call it. But like, as you said, as organizations actually start pooling their people who are clearly functioning for the most part, then you get a healthier group of people in the pool. And then the risk actually is distributed over more people.
Yes.
I hadn't really thought about it in terms of that, but yeah, that's actually, it does take away the dependence that we have on our job. I mean, so many people I know, may have wanted to switch jobs or whatever, but stayed because they knew the healthcare that they had and didn't want to do anything to jeopardize it. But a big barrier to moving jobs has historically been healthcare related.
Or starting a business. I'm an entrepreneur now, but it took me so long to make this jump. And it was health insurance that held me back psychologically. I was like, oh no, what if? And finally, in solving this problem, like when I talk to fellow small business owners, fellow entrepreneurs, it's a calling. We say like, oh, well, would you ever close up shop in order just because of health insurance? And they're like, oh, no. I'm doing what I'm meant to do. But the thing is, when I think about those same people, what we're building for is that so that they don't have to take on these profound risks, that they are covered. They do have great coverage, and you can pursue your dream, be part of the economic engine and innovation of this country. So,
which is not insignificant. Like, yes, for it is impacting one individual and their dream and maybe whoever they wind up hiring. But that ability to change and to take risks is one of the things that tends to make us cutting edge as a
100%.
country. So
Yeah, and small businesses also employ half of America as well. So it's not just, you're right, the key part is it's for that entrepreneur, for that person maybe who should be an entrepreneur and creates the next generational company that changes industry and society, and also the people they hire, the jobs they create, the opportunity. Yeah.